All right, so we are live. This is the episode that has been 2.5 to 3 weeks in the making, and it's the one that everyone is clamoring for. This is the Star Wars Andor Season 2 recap review with me and John right here on Aged in Geek. All right, so before we dig in, we got a little buffer music going on. We'll have to tweak it a little bit. We are still in the transition period, but it has been very responsive with Aged in Geek having its own Facebook page. We already had the Facebook group, but now we have the kind of the official page where the podcast will be hosted. But for a few weeks, it can't go live directly on there, so you will be able to see it on my Facebook page, and I will share it over to there, or I will grab the recording and throw it out there for everybody to watch whenever at their leisure. So make sure you follow that. Make sure if you are watching us on YouTube, we are live on YouTube. This is the first live broadcast. We need to mark the day, John. What is today?
The 23rd.
It is the 23rd of May. Yes, the 23rd of May is the first live Aged in Geek on our new YouTube page.
Heck yeah.
There's like 2 subscribers, so people need to get in there and start start hitting that like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're worried about our longevity, it's there because we've been a year and a half or something on the Powerbomb Nation YouTube page, which you can also subscribe to. Make sure you join us in the comments where we will discuss all things with you live. But before we start talking about the wonderful series that was Andor, John, how have you been? It's been a minute.
Yeah,
We haven't been it's been busy. So
yeah. There's been a lot going on. Work's been hectic. A lot of ball games I've been going to and practices and things. Got a couple new things. I got this Funko Pop, a neon ghost face. I do too. I like that a lot. And then the other one's on a figure. I got this shirt. I saw it, had to get it. This is my OG game system right here. Sega Saturn. Love it.
I did notice the Sega Saturn before we went on. I was like, that's a pretty freaking cool shirt. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the first system I ever owned.
So, it was the Saturn. Cool. Was it good? It was solid.
Oh yeah, I like the Saturn. If I had the money to find a decent one, I'd probably get one now. But I don't know. Nowadays, it's so easy to find those little like Fire Stick looking things, or like little consoles that have like all the downloaded games from different consoles. I don't know.
I have one that I got. I don't think it's in. No, it's a bedroom. It's in the bedroom on the nightstand. It's super convenient for that. It's the size of an old Game Boy. Got a couple triggers on the back, so you can play up to a PlayStation 2. It's got PlayStation 2 games on it, but it's got arcade games on it. I got it because it was going to be a way to play the Simpsons arcade and wrestle. There's 2 Wrestle Arcade or WrestleFest. So there's 2 wrestling games that are on there, and they're on there, and that's really cool. I'm still working on the video for it. So
there you go. How was your week, Dwight? Or weeks? Maybe
weeks have been busy. It's that time of year. If mattress on sale, I'm going to be on the car lot. So
speaking of, my son just bought a car from Dwight's work today.
Yes, sure did. It was a pleasure getting to help Ray and assist you all in your deal today. So that was fantastic. That's I made sure I did stop over and be like, hey, so John can record tonight, right?
Yeah, she told me. She was like, I almost felt like one of the kids' friends were asking for a sleepover or something. She should have been like, no, he's grounded.
Nope, not tonight.
Yeah.
So,
what you drinking on, Dwight?
Oh, this is an Appalachian ginger beer.
Oh,
it is
interesting looking label.
Yeah,
I like that.
We got it at a place downtown, River City Preventions in Frankfurt, and that's where we get our structured water refilled at, or our alkaline water refilled. And so we try to support the store that we go in. So we're just not going in there and getting water all the time. But they have all kinds of cool, kind of local handmade things in there. Some cool coffee cups and stuff. But
that's pretty cool.
Yep. Only other thing, I don't think I picked up any.
Ooh,
a box to open here soon.
There you go.
And I think did I show you the Star Wars handheld thing? One of the.
Yeah, I think you sent a picture of it. I don't think you.
This is pretty cool. So
yeah, that is cool.
Shout out to Connor, who watches the show. So he picked that up in Missouri. Actually, he went past it and he left it there. And after he told me about it, I was like, oh, that was really cool. He was like, yeah, I didn't think about it. And the next thing I know, he shows up. He's like, yeah, I just went ahead and had somebody go pick it up for me and mail to me. So
I'm sure he got that for you because he was such a big fan of the show, right? And he wanted to get
absolutely.
So I'm sure he's going to get me the next time around.
Yeah. But you know what the best part about those games like that, because it's the old pixelated, like the digital thing, that was the one that, Sunday you're sitting in church and you got one of those and you think you got it muted and then it turns on. You can't turn it down until it finishes the sequence of sounds. So that was one that always got you busted in church.
Do I be like sitting on it? Like, I don't know where that's coming from. That's
trying to shove it in my stomach. It's funny. I told
that the Bible around it.
One of the preachers who sells cars, and he laughed because he was like, "Yeah, he's an older gentleman, so he knew exactly what it was." He's like, "Yeah, I know that sound."
Yep. That's awesome.
So, John, we finished Andor. Overall,
yeah.
What did you think of the series after it finished?
Well, as you know, aside from like the very beginning, episodes 1 through I take that back. Episode 6 got good, so I liked 6, and then I liked like a couple scenes in the very beginning of the first episode. But other than that, the middle was just I put it on the same par as season 1. I was like, it was just like I know it's crucial. I mean, the writing's good. The acting's really good. It's just I can't get into it. It's just a snooze fest for me. Then episode 6 hit, and I got some excitement, right? And then episode 7 came, and it started off slow. Like the first half of the episode, I was like, man, I was really hoping it just keep going up from 6, And then it did. And from the second half of episode 7 all the way through the rest of the series was really good. Didn't have any trouble keeping my attention. It was all interesting. I enjoyed it. So as an overall for the series, I'm going to give it, and this is just season 2, of course, not the whole series. Season 2, I'm going to give a solid 6.5, which is praise for me.
Yeah, that is considering where you fell on season 1.
Yeah.
I do see the story was very elongated in a lot of places. Yeah. So, it was slow, but I think this is just probably a general taste in movies, is like the slow spy burn. I really got into that. I like that and plus with it being Star Wars, but I loved how everything flowed. The fact that they were able to do that and keep that line going through both seasons and into this one. And then after you see the entire thing, and then you start looking back and you're like, and that's when all the light bulbs start going on back through the season. You're like, oh shit. So if she didn't, I love to think that the Empire's Death Star was blown up because someone sent the wrong an email to the wrong person.
Yes. That would be hilarious.
And the fact that she got I don't remember what it's called that they give, but it's their version of an email. So it was basically Deidre got forwarded or put on the wrong email blast.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how the Death Star plans made their way from there all the way to R2-D2.
Yep.
And eventually, Princess Leia.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, like I said, this show has amazing writing. And I'll get into the acting later, but the acting is, for several characters, is amazing. But I agree with you. I mean, there's things you watch and you're like, oh, that's the whole premise of this show, I think. I mean, it's meant to be good and be entertaining, but at the same time, it's meant to connect those dots. People, how many times have people heard of the massacre? You know what I mean? What is it? Ghorman Massacre. But now you finally get to see what happened, and it's just stuff like that I feel like is what Star Wars fans are gonna cling to.
Right. I love. I would have to say I'm going to be solid as a season 2 of Andor. I'm at a 9.5. I was really, the writing's fantastic. The tie-ins are great. I like the double-edged side of you got to see what the rebellion really was. It makes a lot more sense knowing what you know in life and knowing that, George Lucas originally kind of based it off, Vietnam and the war and things like that going on. Yeah. It really added a lot to that. We already knew Saul Guerrera was a fringe part of the rebellion. But then to see Luthen's fringe part, find out not only was he was Empire turned, or maybe say, I don't know which, he was not Republic. Yeah. And then he's seen how bad it was, turned, and then became virtually a terrorist. And because he blew up his first, him and Clea, their first bombing was in Naboo. The writers of the show confirmed that bridge blowing up was in Naboo. They said he picked Naboo because that's where Emperor Palpatine came from. So it was a statement. I don't know. I don't know. That's my bag on some TV shows. Oh, yeah.
And I mean, like, there were some things that were kind of like, like that they changed, or I don't even want to say change because I already heard a bunch of people saying, well, they didn't change it. You just heard a different broadcast, or you just heard this different, or a different part, or something, or you didn't hear the whole thing. I've heard that too, but like a lot of the speeches or broadcasts or messages you hear that were sent out there on this show that were coinciding with Rebels, the messages were different. You know what I mean? Like, in one message, and this isn't exactly what I'm saying, but in one message, they were talking about what's the senator's name again?
Mon Mothma.
Mon Mothma, about her getting rescued, said she was rescued by the Gold Squadron. But we all know Andor is the one who rescued her solely, pretty much, you know what I mean? As far as getting her out of there. And then there were other messages that you heard. One from that guy who's giving that inspirational message for the rebellion or whatever, talking about, I can't remember the line, something about only takes one spark to light a fire or something like that. I don't know. But that speech was completely different from the one you heard in Rebels. And it was supposed to be the same guy. That's the one I hear a lot of people saying, well, it was just a different part. You didn't hear the whole thing in Rebels, or, stuff like that.
Right.
It's easy to say that, but,
I did what I did. I did like, I was hoping for a little more of a tease of where we were at in the timeline. I know where you're kind of at in the timeline with Rebels, but I would have liked one other. I wanted to hear something about Thrawn and the TIE Defender project, because during that time frame too is when Krennic gets the money to finish that project. So Was that the Ghorman Initiative? Is that where that money came from? Did that happen because Kanan Jarrus and them, blew up and stopped the TIE Defender?
Well, I think a lot of people thought that it would make more sense, especially in this season, to have stuff about Thrawn or Vader, at least more mention. Maybe not like actually show them, but more mention of kind of what was going on with them. But I don't know. I feel like this series wanted to stay away from that. You've already got Ahsoka, dealing with Thrawn, and then just about everything Star Wars deals with Vader in some way, shape, or form. So I feel like they just wanted to keep all that out of it. That's what I felt, I guess.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't clamoring for a Vader cameo or anything like that in this. I thought that was good. I loved how they used the Emperor. You never got him, but he's definitely looming the entire season in this.
Yeah. They talk about him.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
And the way he's called out, Mon Mothma, her evolution in this series. A lot of people talk, Breaking Bad was one of the, or probably the best character development of any TV show ever. Breaking Bad was amazing. But Mon Mothma's development from where she was when we meet the first, and then where she's at when she's leader of the rebels going up.
I call that
Bail Organa.
I call that stupid haircut, Mon Mothma. Hair looked really good, and then when you get to where she's like the leader of the rebels, it's not so good anymore.
Yeah, it's like kind of like a light bulb or something.
Yeah,
just reverse.
Yep.
But I thought there were a lot of really good. Her path to why she's how she is was really good, and how she was so strong, because in a lot of the books she's featured. Disney featured her very heavy in the Aftermath novels. And she was a big, huge part of that. So I enjoyed seeing some backstory on her. What did you think about the recasting of Bail Organa after getting to see the entire series?
I mean, it's always weird seeing somebody that you're not used to playing a character, but at the same time, I don't think Bail was a major enough character for it to really hurt me. You know what I mean? Like, if you had like Obi-Wan or Anakin or Yoda.
Right.
No, I mean, you can't really recast Yoda, but somebody who's like
Kermit the Frog. They can get Kermit to come in and play Yoda.
There you go. But I mean, it might bother you a little bit, but this one, it didn't really hurt me. I mean, even like with Balin, I mean, I know that they're probably going to do a good job replacing them and all that stuff, and there might be a transformation or something happening, but I feel like that one bothered me more because it was still telling the story, and there's more potential, I feel like. Don't get me wrong, Bail Organa plays a huge part in Star Wars, but a lot of that is inferred. Like, we watch it, and we kind of know how Bail has had his hand in several different things, but he's not featured doing it a lot. You know what I mean?
Right.
And, we all know what happens to him. That's the thing. We know where he was and where it ends, so with Balin, it's still an open book. So that kind of makes you like, but I wasn't too tore up by it.
Yeah, it didn't. I was a little at first. I was going to be like, okay, it's going to be weird.
Yeah,
but ultimately it wasn't. The guy did a good job. He played a very good younger Bail Organa. I thought it was fine. I thought the actor did a great job. He was a bit of a jerk. That's the one thing. You never think of Bail Organa because you think, okay, well, it's Leia's dad. He's a senator, but you never had any super like aggressive or authoritative out of him ever before. In this, you kind of got it. He was well,
I think it's the whole rebellion thing. Like when he's a senator, it's more about your public appearance. So first of all, you're going to handle things differently, especially if you're in the public eye, and you're going to carry yourself a different way. So you're obviously going to be on your best behavior, be talking to people with respect and things. And even like in the Senate meetings and stuff. You know, I mean, I've seen him have like a serious, stern tone. You know, but I guess in the rebellion outfit, it's probably a mixture of the fact that he wasn't in the public eye and that there's a lot more riding on this working.
Right.
Like everything. So
everybody's life in the known galaxy.
Yeah. And just think, if he'd done a little bit of a better job, Alderaan might still be there.
Right? He was that close.
Yep.
So yeah, I enjoyed that. Lutheran's interaction with Deidre, of course, you know, he's been teasing the whole season that, okay, what was it, episode 2, where you're like, okay, he's going to stay there and die. And, you know, you were always expecting he's going to sacrifice. So they've been building up to that the whole season for him. We've seen how he's been calm and collected, and then he slowly starts losing everything. So by episode 7, you know, he's a lot more frantic. He's not as put together in any of the shots. And
he stopped wearing his wig in public.
Yeah, it was a whole new Lutheran. And we got some backstory on him. And it's Clea. Is it Clea?
Yeah.
It's him and Clea. So he finds her when I'm assuming he was with the Empire. Is that what it looked like? Is that where they were
I think so.
Similar suits to Solo, the mud trooper suits or whatever. Yeah. And he finds her hid. And that's when he kind of has his moment that, oh shit, this is the wrong way. And he gets his turn. We see him detonate the bridge, like we mentioned earlier. So he's telling her the first place not to look. I thought that was a really cool scene when he's like, where are you going to look? And he's like, no, you can't look at the troopers before it goes off. You have to wait and, you know, make it natural.
Yep.
Their relationship, it explained that. And it was a father-daughter thing. And that, you know, that made what happened in the end a lot tougher to watch.
Let me ask you this before we get any further, and there's a tie-in, but did they ever, explain anything or give you any idea of what happened to Andor's sister?
No.
Because he looked for her the whole first season. That was like his big thing. He was trying to find his sister, and then you just never really heard about her. When it started showing the flashbacks of Lutheran finding Clea and stuff, I started thinking, like, what if that's Andor's sister? And it just so, by happenstance, you know, because it kept showing the flashbacks, you know, and she kind of looked like scrubby a little bit, you know, when she was little and her hair was frizzy. And like, I was like, what if that was Andor's sister? You know what I mean? Because that was a major plot. I feel like he was trying to find his sister the whole time. And then they just like never really mentioned it again.
Right. No, that would have been a cool tie-in. There were also some, a lot of deleted scenes from this series. One entire episode was also deleted. We'll get to that. And so I thought it was very interesting how they built the rebellion. It really, when you go back to it, he was the one that kind of started the whole thing, because he spawned the Saw Gerreras and all the rebellions that started popping up all over the galaxy. So that's really cool to see where exactly it started from. And then when he ultimately meets Dedra, and I thought this was such a great scene for him. I like when they're kind of walking around and they're talking about all the antiquities in the shop. He knows he's busted, so he sent Clea away, and he's pouring acid to erase everything. It's the big burn, or the final burn, or the big burn, they called it. And so everything's being destroyed, and she shows up on a whim for her. So she wasn't supposed to do this. It's not scheduled. She didn't follow proper procedure. And gets Lutheran. They dance around the museum a little bit. But I loved when he said, because she was asking about the authenticity of everything in here, and he drops the line, and I about popped off my chair. And he was like, oh dear, there's only 2 things in here that authenticity can be questioned. And immediately the fact that it's her and him is what you knew he was talking about. And I just thought that was a great scene.
Yep.
And the ultimately where he goes to off himself, and she figures that out right after she sees everything's melting down, and that's where her world crumbled. And then she gets thrown in the prison that we see in Andor season 1 with the floors that they can't walk on at night, and the brutality that came down for them knowing, because Krennic is grilling her in that interview before throwing her away. And when he pokes her head, and you just see her eyes just like kind of bulge out. Did you know that wasn't in the script?
Really?
Yeah. Is it Mendelsohn is the actor? He was in the moment, and when he gave that line, he just felt that he should do that. And then it got that reaction out of there. And that's one of the biggest reactions in the series, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's how you do the best acting. You make it real.
Right.
That's pretty cool. I mean, kind of on that same note, you were talking about Lutheran. Like, I love how Andor defends him, you know, and says, hey, this guy's radical. You know, I know that. Everybody knows that. But none of us would be here right now if it weren't for him. You know, so stuff like that. Like, and it's true. I mean, you think about Lutheran, like how smart the man is. You know, sometimes the smartest people are the most crazy. You know what I mean? But like,
right.
He was the intel guy for so many years. He knew from the beginning how it was going to end. You know, I mean, maybe not, you know, with the Empire and all that, but like he told Andor in that one line, he said, "We sealed our fates the moment we met each other." You know, he's pretty much saying we're both going to die for this cause. You know, there's no way around it. We're both dead. So, and I always thought that was interesting that he had the mental awareness to know that was going to happen, because most people like to try to sugarcoat things, even if they know. They're like, "Oh no, we're going to find a way." You know, well, sometimes there just isn't a way.
Well, yeah, which is kind of a stark turn from the original Star Wars. You know, the original trilogy, where you know it is we're going to find a way to get through this type deal. Saul Guerrero was a little less in the later part of this season, but we got that really cool shot when they know he's on Jeddah, and he's like, "No, I'm not on Jeddah." And then of course and then it pans off, and it gives you the shot from Rogue One where he's standing in that window looking out with the Star Destroyer. So then you kind of get influxed. Okay, well, here's where we're at in the timeline. So, you know, shit's getting ready to go down.
And, you know, I didn't realize actually until I watched these later episodes that kid from episode 6, I think it is, that was like took his mask off and was breathing that drug like with Saul when he was like doing that stuff, or I can't remember what he was doing, but he was like arming something or something. I don't know. But that kid is the same kid from the planet Andor lived with his mom, like the one whose dad got killed during the raid. He actually, I guess, devoted his life to being a rebel after that. And he actually moved up through the ranks in that time span, because Andor had seen him, I think, in episode 7, I believe, at like a gathering or something. And they were all dressed nice and stuff. And he was talking kind of like in code with him, you know, and he pretty much said, "Yeah, I'm here to warn you about stuff. I'm here to tell you about what Lutheran's saying." You know what I mean? Like, so it kind of threw Andor for a loop, because I think the last time he seen him, he looked at him as more like a kid, you know, and now he's this guy who's up to his neck in it, you know, and kind of wild.
Right. Let me ask you on this one. There was kind of a unsung hero that I didn't really expect to see coming. But that was the I think his last name Jung, Jung, but it's the redheaded guy who was who Lutheran had met in season 1 towards the end. It was like, "No, you're going to do this. You have no choice." And we see him, and he's an imperial officer, very highly ranked. You know, he's right there with Dedra as far as like kind of her right hand, who really got the ball rolling. He's the one who found, or stole the Death Star plans originally. So he had a really good story because I wasn't expecting that much from him in the end. I kind of thought he was just there for a plan and was never really going to do anything.
Yeah. And even so, like people like that, when you get made, then all of a sudden your alliances change. You know what I mean? Like he came and warned them, hey, I've been made. We ain't got time. This is what's happening. This is going to happen. And he got right to the point, even though he knew, it was done with. Got to respect that.
And so we know two people that knew the Death Star name. I thought this was a really interesting little plot with Krennic here. So we know Dedra and we know her boss, which is the old man.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he found out the name of the Death Star too. And he wasn't supposed to know.
That was okay. I'm sorry. Before we get farther, that was such a powerful scene. Like that kind of gave me chills. When he was like, "Just say it, say the name." I was like, "Dang."
Yeah, it was. It was just the Krennic was a hell of a character. He is one. He is he's like upper management, and that's it. He's not not a fancy Jedi or anything like that. Not a big Sith leader. He's not rich. Yep. He didn't come from money. He's not some prince from somewhere.
But he's smart.
He's just a straight up, hey, my boss is chewing my ass because this ain't done. So I'm going to chew your ass until this gets done,
But, honestly, it's like, I don't know. This is going to be a weird, kind of comparison.
Oh, Rick, we are on YouTube tonight, but it is on the Aged in Geek YouTube channel. So you need to go ahead and go over there and subscribe to that channel as well. That's where this show is going to be hosted. You can be like the third person right now.
There you go, Rick. Let's
go. Floor. This is ground floor stuff for exclusively to you.
Yeah. What was I saying again?
We were talking about middleman.
Oh yeah, Krennic and stuff. Yes. Okay. Yeah. I mean, Krennic is kind of like an unsung hero, though, from like the Empire. Like you always hear about Tarkin and Vader and all this stuff, but I mean, if you're thinking about Tarkin and you're thinking about Krennic, think about kind of the stuff that Krennic was into and got the ball rolling on, ideas he had. I mean, he might have been shaded over a little bit. You know what I mean? Like not been given enough credit for all the stuff he actually did.
He was probably, the funny part is, of course, the Emperor liked Tarkin because of what Tarkin was, the Emperor ultimately wouldn't have been able to trust Tarkin. From a lot of the things you read in the comics and books and stuff, Tarkin had his own agenda on there. And if he would have got the chance, he would have been on, he would have been on overthrow. Vader was in on overthrow. But somebody like Thrawn was in on overthrow. Thrawn was there for his own reasons, not necessarily for the Empire.
Yeah.
Krennic was probably very loyal to the Emperor. He was probably the most loyal, and he's the one that got taken out by, Tarkin ruined him. But
well, okay, here we go. Agree or disagree. And this isn't anything to do with Andor. But had Thrawn not run into Ezra and the rebels, would he have eventually overthrew Palpatine and taken over the Empire?
Maybe he could have been calculating enough to do it because he would have known what the Emperor was. I think he probably knew that the Emperor, I don't think it's brought up in any of the books, but I bet you he knew that the Emperor was a Sith or had that, had the Jedi vibe going.
Which I didn't read all the books or listen rather. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I know they didn't always get along perfectly, but I know Tarkin is definitely going to be a kiss ass for Palpatine. But I can see Thrawn and Vader teaming up in a certain reality, or a timeline and taking over the Empire.
There's Vader didn't like Thrawn.
Oh yeah,
I think Anakin didn't quite. Their relationship is explored in a book where it explores Thrawn and Anakin together because
I think I've heard that one. The one where they go to the planet and the shit or Padme's ship's there or something, and like they're trying to figure out why the ship's there or something. I don't know. Yeah. I can't remember all of it, but I remember.
But yeah, they do that, and then it's them later on in life because Thrawn figures out who it is. You know, he has no idea.
Yeah,
but he figures out just by hanging out with him who it was. Vader never really cared for Thrawn at all. I don't think it would have worked because of Vader. I think he would have.
Yeah.
But ultimately, could Thrawn have beaten Vader because he figured out how to keep Jedis off of him? He kept the Sabaoth guy off of him because of the little lizard things. Yeah. So yeah, he could have overthrown the Empire, but I think he was looking for an alliance. You know, he was the rebels because they were too unorganized.
I was misremembering, I think. So that scene I was talking about where they saw Padme's ship on that planet or whatever, he was still Anakin at that point. He wasn't Vader yet.
And which part?
That when they did that thing where they met each other and they saw her ship and Anakin was trying to save her and Thrawn was there and stuff. He was still Anakin at that point.
Yeah. But that's why Thrawn didn't go for the Rebel Alliance or the Republic for help to help the Chiss ascendancy, because meeting Anakin Skywalker, they were just not. They wouldn't be able to do what needed to be done when it needed to be done. They were too political and too disorganized, and that's why Thrawn, because he planted himself for the Empire to find, and then got in their ranks and everything. But that's why he chose the Empire instead of the Republic.
Yeah.
If he wanted to, he could have overthrown the Empire. That might be a pretty hot take, though. Thrawn probably could have beat the Emperor.
Yeah, I think so. He could have found a way.
Rick says that, or a random 90-pound girl beat him to a pulp with a force and a lightsaber.
That is no random 90-pound girl. That is a Skywalker, Rick.
That is true, Rick.
So anyways, back to Andor.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? Do you think Thrawn would have overtook eventually?
Who, me or Rick?
You. Rick, I know what Rick thinks.
Yeah, I mean, I think he definitely could have. And because of how intelligent he was. I don't know. Lobto? Oh. I think Thrawn was probably the most intelligent character that's ever been in Star Wars that I know of. I don't know about like past stuff or like legend stuff, but like,
oi,
oi,
wow. Oi.
But yeah, Thrawn has to be the most intelligent character in Star Wars, and I feel like honestly, he had a plan. He's kind of like that. You know those commercials where they're trying to teach people how not to be dads? And it's like, you don't have to say anything, like the life coach or whatever with them or whatever. Yes. I feel like it's like that with Thrawn. Like that's just kind of, he's that guy. He plans everything out. I think he had a 5-year plan. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then when he met the rebels, it just all fell apart. Like, I think if he probably had it all laid out how he was going to do everything, and everything was going according to plan until he ran into the rebels, and then that just, I would like to see how it turned out.
Yeah, that Jar Jar is the most intelligent being in Star Wars. There could be some arguments for that. And
Misa not sure.
Oi means ewe, which is like a sheep, a female sheep, and sounds familiar. I thought oi was like hi, like in Australia, like oi.
I just remember
I'm from Australia.
Oi.
Right. Oh, you want me to ruin that song for you real quick?
Oh gosh.
Okay. At the beginning of that, when they're doing that, just know that they're chanting my name.
Yeah, You've already told me this. That's funny.
Oh, it's a rude thing. Oh, like what? Okay. It's a rude attention call. Like you're bringing attention to someone like rude, like, oi, you stop that.
You gotta say it in an angry tone, though. Oi.
Yeah. That sounded like AC/DC. That was good. See, we are expanding your mind here on Aged and Geek as well. And you should expand your Facebook and YouTube subscriptions by subscribing to the channel and also subscribing to us on Facebook. Go over there and give us a big thumbs up.
Oh, and speaking of, brief interlude here. I watched the Aaron Rodgers documentary.
Yeah. Oh,
I did actually. I still feel the same way about Aaron Rodgers, though.
Oh, that's amazing. This channel does something to my mind. I don't think it's expanding it.
Come on, Rick. Don't be that way.
Let's see. We're collectors of Star Wars dolls or games. A little bit of everything. If it's
a little bit of everything.
Yeah, if it's geeky and nerdy, it can be played on a video game system, or it can be watched. If it has anything to do with Star Wars, it is definitely covered here. And if you're into football, we have American football.
Yes.
Yeah, they kind of are, technically.
They're not dolls. They're action figures. Rick's like, you think I just go to Ross to buy dolls?
Yes. I wonder if she get a good helmet. A joke from Spaceballs. Yeah. We've talked about Spaceballs is a classic.
Great movie. Pizza the Hut.
Yeah, one of the best villains ever is poor John Candy. John Candy and Barf. He's fantastic. They're going to remake this, and he's not going to be in it.
What's the name of that user again that just commented?
LOB Toby. Lobe Toby.
Well, the Swartz is strong with Lobe Toby. Your Swartz. I see your Swartz is almost as big as mine.
Oh, that is you know what else? That and Shaun of the Dead might be like if you're on a desert island and you only get a couple movies, Spaceballs would be, I think, pretty high on that list.
Oh yeah, that's quality.
Yeah, keep you sane by at least you would get some laughs in. All right, so let's get back on Andor here because we still have quite a
lot of episodes
to hash out. When we left off, we talked about Krennic, the Empire.
Yes.
I like seeing Coruscant. I thought all the Coruscant scenes were really gave you that prequel vibe. I love the cars.
I mean, I don't know, like, I love the attention to detail. Like, I will give Disney this, and I don't know if it's just Disney or maybe they're just good at hiring people who pay attention to detail. Like, but they, with their filmography, or I don't know if filmography is the right word or not, but their cinematic style, they like view everything in. It makes you feel certain ways about like the Empire or the Rebellion based on the visual aesthetics of it. Like everything you see on like the Rebellion side or like, Coruscant, stuff like that. It's all like round and like kind of like a wholesome, like natural, like feel to it. Buildings, architecture, even like kind of natural things on planets, but like Yavin and stuff like that. But like Empire, everything's curves and lines and corners and it's sharp, it's like, it just gives you that feel. I don't know how to explain it, but they're really good about that. And I like the attention to detail. It impresses me.
Yeah, it was really good. I liked Coruscant in the first films too. I thought it was a real cool tie. And I liked the whole shifty politician parties, that was good. But let me ask you this. They didn't get into this, and this is one of the things that they had to delete from. They deleted from the show, I'm assuming for time. And I mean, ultimately, it didn't make any difference whether it was included in the show or not. But what were your thoughts on Mon Mothma's husband?
Yeah, they kind of cut like what happened. Like you seen more towards the end of him riding in the back of like a limo, I guess it was supposed to be, with like another chick. She was like the wife of one of the other people at one of their parties, I think. I can't remember who it was, but I remember thinking that when I saw her. But yeah, like they were together attending all these parties in like the first 6 episodes, and then all of a sudden, like he was just gone. Like you didn't see him until that scene. I didn't kind of understand what happened there. Kind of cut that out. But was that a scene that got deleted?
So there was a scene that got deleted out of the Andor series, and it was I forget his name, but it was him.
Yeah.
And he tells Mon Mothma, "You could have trusted me. I knew the whole time." He knew what was going on. He knew that she was coordinating the Rebel Alliance, but she never went to him to trust him, who she should have been able to trust, but she was too scared to. And it was kind of it was more of a scene to kind of set up why Mon Mothma changed or took such a hard turn. Because if she would have kept the ones in her life were the ones, if she would have trusted him, they could have ran it together and it probably would have been a lot more successful.
And I mean, that's another thing. Like, I hate questions. I hate having questions. Like, obviously, I don't really care. You know, it may be harsh, but I don't really care what happens then. You know what I mean? I didn't really like the character that much anyways. But, you know, you still like to know, you know, things. But the daughter, like, does she just live the rest of her life kind of in her dad's world? Because obviously she's not part of Mon Mothma's life. I haven't seen anything about her in anything, you know, like, I don't know. That's kind of weird. Or does she die in the future? Who knows? Like, just kind of, which there's another similar question I have later when we get to it, but we'll get there.
So yeah, that was one of the deleted scenes. And I thought that would have been interesting because Perrin was.
Can you
hear me now?
Good. Not good.
Interesting. No.
Mm-hmm. I see your mouth moving, but that's it. You just cut out. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I can't hear you. Dwight's in deep throat right now, just in case everybody else. I wonder if they can hear you.
That's weird. It's showing that it.
Well, let me see something. If anybody's in chat, let us know if you can hear Dwight.
Yeah, if you can hear me, just type a 1 in the chat, please.
Huh. That's weird.
Nobody must be able to hear me.
I have no idea what you said. Hey, this is the John show now.
Still nothing? No.
Should we log off and try to log back on? Or will that mess us up?
It will mess us up.
Ah, okay. I'm reading lips right now. I'm really good at reading lips for some reason. I don't know why. Well, we were just about to get into the Ghorman Massacre right before we lost our audio. Bear with us, folks. Just a little technical difficulties. Huh.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
It's kind of crazy. I didn't hear nothing.
Nothing? Interesting. Let me check on Facebook. Go ahead and
okay.
Go
so
forward.
Anyways, I'm gonna get into the Ghorman Massacre a little bit. It's honestly extremely sad how easily the Empire was able to manipulate the Ghorman people. Get into the Ghorman Massacre a little bit.
I can hear me.
You can hear you?
Yeah.
So it's my headphones that have messed up.
Yeah.
Hold on just a minute.
Hear
Me.
You can hear you?
Yeah.
So it's my.
Oh, that's great. That whole time when I thought I couldn't be heard.
I'll be right back. I'm going to log out and fix this.
All right. So while we're waiting on John, of course, the Ghorman Massacre, of course, it was mentioned across Star Wars timelines altogether, which is really cool. And it was really cool to kind of see it play out, and it had some pretty emotional scenes. While we were waiting on John to get logged back in, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. YouTube channel. We just started the Aged in Geek YouTube channel, so you can watch that on its own entity now. It is no longer going to be housed solely on the Powerbomb Nation. It won't be on the Powerbomb Nation YouTube page at all moving forward. You will be able to find it on the Powerbomb Nation Facebook page and my personal Facebook page until we are able to do the live streams on Facebook. So I want to hear in the comments, what did you all think? What did you all give Andor on a scale of 1 to 10? Where did you have Andor ranked when you were watching? So let us know in the comments below. Can you hear me now, John?
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know what happened. It didn't say anything. My stuff was still connected and everything. Just couldn't hear nothing. I disconnected, reconnected. It's fine.
And it's fine. Interesting. I was like, that's really where I was like, I was even scratching. So all those people got a bunch of blowing in the microphone and scratching on it because I didn't think anyone could hear, and it was John's headphone. That'll be a great clip. It's just I'm gonna do some what is it, ASMR?
Yes.
Can you hear that?
Hey, we'll probably get a bunch of subscribers. Everybody's in ASMR.
Can you hear that?
No, I can definitely hear that.
That's
I got goosebumps.
1 hour. 1 hour of me scratching a microphone. It would probably get more views than anything else I do.
Dude, my daughter is obsessed with that stuff. She bought her a microphone with her own money just so she could put headphones on and listen to weird sounds. She'll put plastic over it and put shaving cream on it and like all kinds of weird shit just to hear different sounds. I don't know what the obsession is. She'll like watch videos where it's just like nails. And it's like you said, like an hour-long video. I'm like, ugh. Nah.
Oh, not like scratching on a chalkboard. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I'll start a YouTube channel just doing that.
Hey, you might want to start an OnlyFans. But anyways, Ghorman Massacre.
Yes.
So as I was saying, I'm sure you heard, it's really deeply sad how easily the Empire was able to manipulate the Ghorman people. Oh my gosh.
And the Empire has manipulated our stream. That's like
what just happened? Was that me or was that everything?
No, it was just you, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my screen just went black. I was like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, it froze up on our end.
Oh. But anyways, yeah, they had the narrative where they wanted to make the Ghorman people look like they were kind of rebelling and they were dangerous and all this stuff, which the Ghorman people were so innocent. Like this whole area, like their big main area they had was all like dedicated. What was dedicated? It was a memorial for something.
It was for what Tarkin did. The actual massacre was Tarkin had committed a genocide or something on Ghorman before. And that's what they led the memorial was to commemorate those.
Yes. And
then the Empire had the audacity to build that building in shadow over the memorial, which is, it's ballsy anyways.
And then like right there before it all went down, even some of the Ghorman people were like, the Empire opened up the area, again, and the Ghorman people took their dang shot and it just fell right into the Empire's hands, man. It's just like, and then all hell broke loose. Andor was there, and what's that guy's name again? The young dude who was the ISB agent.
The redheaded kid.
No, not the young kid. The one who was with Dedra.
Oh, Cyril.
Cyril, yeah, they were both there, and whew, man, it honestly that whole scene was so good, like so good. I mean, it was so sad, but it was so good. Like it really pulled on the heartstrings, kind of seeing all that play out. Man, I have to say, this isn't quite on the same level as the Battle of Mustafar and kind of that interaction between Anakin and Obi-Wan. But I mean, that whole play out with Andor and Cyril and Dedra was like, because Cyril ended up not being a bad guy. I could have seen him being a lot more like a callous character if he had been able to survive and move through that, you know. Because once he realized kind of what was going on, he wasn't down. He was not okay with it. He looked at the Empire as this, like how you should look at like police or military, like they're there to protect people. You know what I mean?
Right.
That was kind of his view. Like there's order and there's strictness, but it's all to protect people. And he found out there that that's not what the Empire's about, and it kind of set him all crazy. And he choked Deidre out, and she was having some flashbacks there of whenever she was getting choked out on I can't remember the name of that planet that Andor's from or lived at, but when she was getting choked out there, and he actually saved her at that point. But yeah, he got raw on her, and like it was so like both of their acting in that scene was just so intense and good. I was like, oh my gosh. And then Andor ends up getting orders that he can take Dedra out. You know what I mean? He almost has a shot, but Cyril saves her and starts attacking Andor. And that whole thing was crazy too, because here's these two characters that I mentioned this last episode a couple weeks ago that we did, but they were kind of mirroring each other the whole time, and it was inevitably going to meet like that.
Right.
And Cyril was actually bettering Andor a little bit and had him right in his sights. And then last second, old dude from Ghorman just shot Cyril right in the head and ended it. And it was just like, you were kind of like shocked when it happened, like, oh shit, because it was over. You know, you had this character that was developing and such a big part of this story, and then all of a sudden he was gone. And it was like, and then, man, as good as these scenes were leading up to this, the actress who plays Deidre, I mean, that scene when she was in the elevator or whatever it was, and she was like pulling at her collar, like A+ acting. Like it was so good. Like she's a phenomenal actress. And I think even she was battling with it there. She was battling with her, like, I think innate, like, self-feeling of having to follow orders and work within the Empire. And then also her morals of what was right and wrong. And you got a little cut scene too that was powerful too. Most annoying character in the whole series, Cyril's mom, but good actress though still. Like, but where she's on the couch watching the news broadcast and it's like she knows her son's dead.
Yeah,
you know, and she just like loses it. Like that whole scene mess there was just like phenomenal acting, phenomenal.
I really liked the way you got more of, because you know there has to be some sympathy for the Empire, because there are people like Dedra who was grown up in it. That's all she ever knew. She was an orphan to the Empire, so only thing she knows is this life. Does that make her necessarily a bad person because she was fitting in that world? She didn't know any better. To her, all the rebels were the worst thing ever because that's how she was indoctrinated since a kid. Then you had Cyril, who grew up, like you said, and then looked at these as military police. Oh, these are people who are protecting, you know, and then to realize what was going on, you know. And then you had Krennic, who was, like we had talked about earlier, your upper management. And then you hear the rumors of Tarkin, you know, and the Emperor, and they're much a bigger threat. So they're looming over the entire series as well. But it's really cool to see more of what the Empire was actually made up of.
And you know,
because not everybody was bad.
Oh yeah, and that's kind of a theme you see throughout Star Wars too. Like, I mean, you see it with Callus. People who kind of go into the Empire thinking it's one thing, but once they realize it's something else, they find their way out or find their way to do the right thing. Callus, I feel like Cyril was on that path. Hell, Dedra might not be far off from that. But I mean, you see it too in like huge characters. I mean, Vader even. I mean, I know Vader didn't start off bad, but he joined the Empire kind of knowing what he was getting into. But I mean, even by the end of it, you know, he found his way back out, you know. So,
and that's recovering from slaying younglings. You know,
yeah,
that's a pretty big.
That's hardcore. And I mean,
overcome.
even Finn from the sequel trilogies, you know, he was part of the Empire.
So the last person in this kind of triangle who started seeing the light, I don't remember his name. It starts with a P. It's a little bit longer, but he's kind of Deidre's boss. So he's not, I guess, is he on the level of Krennic, or if he's right below Krennic, maybe?
I think he's below Krennic. Krennic had more badges or whatever.
He finally came around when he realized that, oh, I screwed up and they're going to do this to me. Mm-hmm. And I like that he walked in and he's listened to the, you know, the Rebel broadcast, and he turns to the other guy who's obviously a friend. And he tells him, you know, it's funny that we're never going to be able to put this out because it's always going to pop up somewhere else. And kind of like, you know, well, we screwed the pooch on this one, and I think we're on the wrong side. I like that he said, give me a moment, and the other guy walked outside. The other guy knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, for sure. And that's also sad. I mean, that tells you right there what the Empire is. I mean, that guy is older. He's been in the Empire probably since it's been around. You know what I mean? He's obviously a higher ranking official, maybe not top tier, but he's a higher ranking official. And the fact that one tarnish on his resume was worthy of killing himself, like, that shows how if you don't do everything perfect in the Empire, you're done. Like, who wants to be part of that? You know what I mean? Like, right. I don't know.
Let's see where else we got.
Andor wanted out.
Right.
This has kind of been a theme, you know, he wanted out. Biggs ended up leaving him because she wanted him to see it through. She believed in the cause. So she left and he moved on and kept going on, which is good because inevitably, if it weren't for Andor doing everything he did in the future after that point, the Empire probably would have reigned supreme. Like, there wouldn't have been any beating them. They would have never got the plans to the Death Star. They would have never had that scene that's very popular where that song's playing, Holiday Road. But, and then Leia would have never got the plans. But,
right.
I watched that today. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh yeah, it does make it a little scarier though. You know, I like how you think
it's such a happy song, but it does make it terrifying. It's like, I mean, I think the only thing scary would have been if it was playing like "I Love You" from Barney.
Right. I liked the whole Andor's development was really good. We did miss one big character. We did get K2SO had been featured. It showed how he found him. It was really creepy when Cyril runs into the bots and they're all deactivated. There's just one that's just locked on, you know, obviously he's turned off, but his head's tilted sideways and staring Cyril right in the face. You can tell by the scar. They matched it up online. You can tell by the damage on the thing that it was K2SO. So I thought that was a cool way to introduce him. I like Andor for some reason felt attracted enough to, I'm going to take this one with me out of all things. And I love when they booted him up and he's like, you know, can you not point that thing at me? Did I do something wrong?
And that's like the best droids in Star Wars, the ones that have that funny personality. Like even K2SO, like in that scene where they were playing cards or whatever they were playing, you know, and like just the bickering back and forth, you know, they were kind of giving a hard time, you know, and it's just funny seeing that personality from the droid. Those are the ones you connect with the most. I like that.
So there are two things with K2SO. Number one, if K2SO was on Yavin, that means him and Chopper were on Yavin together at some point. That's a series that we need to see. Dude, I would like to see a cartoon with Chopper and K2SO.
I would love to see I know it never happened, but droids have longevity. So I mean, could they not come up with some damn story where you had Wu-Tang and Chopper and R2 and 3PO and K2SO and they were all on a mission together or something? Right. That would be awesome.
They could revamp the droid series from back in the 80s, the cartoon series, and do it with all the new ones. That'd be great.
That would be cool.
The deleted episode, or an episode that Tony Gilroy wanted to put in there, was about K2SO, and it was going to be a horror episode. And you kind of got a scene of what it would have looked like when he goes into the Imperial or the compound when he's going to go save Andor, where the safe house is. And you kind of get that, how he's stalking the guys and the lights are off, and it's got the paper on the walls, like it's being under construction. And then you got the droid arm punching through the walls, and they're looking around with a flashlight, and you just see some body sling and it's all bloody. And then when he comes up with the gun, K2SO's got a gun, which was really cool. But when he comes up with a dead body in front of him, and he's got that gun through the arm, and he's using the dead body as a shield and pumping rounds out of the shotgun to kill the other guy, that's hardcore.
That would have been so cool. But if they did it they picked one of the stormtroopers and did it first person view, it would have been like Doom.
Oh, right.
That would have been awesome. His teammates just getting destroyed by this droid. They can't see, it's all dark, punching through walls and stuff. That would be cool.
So now I don't know if it was supposed to be that was going to be one episode, and they kind of snuck it into, that final episode there. Mm-hmm. But I think I seen something where it might have been actually on the ship, and it would have been when they were trying to reprogram him, and he kind of gets loose on the ship. And it was one episode that was going to be him trying to go after everybody, which would have been really entertaining. Would have been a great episode. Yeah. Might not have fit in with the entire narrative of the season. It could have broken up too much.
Oh, yeah. But that still would have been, I mean, that could be, they could honestly do some type of series, maybe short type things, does that show have a name, or do they change the name every time? The Tales from the Empire, Tales from whatever.
Yeah, they just change it.
Is it just Tales or whatever? That would be something cool to do, those short snippets, but with K2SO and stuff.
Yeah, that'd be a good place for the K2SO and Chopper series. 3 little episodes of them on Yavin.
Didn't you say there was going to be something with Embo in it? There
is. He's going to be the big bad in. I think, did they say that's the Mando movie?
Oh, okay.
That he's the original protagonist in the Mando movie, I think.
I love Embo.
Oh yeah, because that's I think maybe he's got the deal with Jabba the Rhoda the Hutt. I think that's the interactions there.
Gotcha. Okay.
But then I guess ultimately it's going to be Thrawn.
Yeah.
But that might not play out at all in the movie. That might just be your cut scene, and then it's going to be, now we got to go fight the heir to the Empire, and they're going to have the battle, and we get to see Thrawn's death in live action.
That'd be cool.
Too bad they killed off Rook, because that's the way he's supposed to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's so awful.
Yep.
Can't get that one back, Disney. That was a mistake. Because that was such a cool way for Thrawn to actually go out, was when Rook, out of all people, betrayed him.
Yeah.
And it's weird that those people were actually Vader's. They were Vader's little acolytes. Did you know that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you listen to the book, or?
I've listened to some of the books. I didn't get to the point. I think I only listened to the first book and part of the second of that kind of set, the canon ones, because there's some that aren't canon, right?
Yeah, those didn't. Well, those had the Nogri, but they're not the same.
Because there's 3 Thrawn books that are canon. I think I listened to the first one and then half of the second one. I haven't finished it.
Yeah, this is when this ties into Leia getting the Hutt Slayer title, because that's what she was known after, Return of the Jedi, was Leia the Hutt Slayer.
The first one was really good. That was the one where you got Governor Price, I think it was, and a bunch of other people, and you kind of heard the beginning story of Thrawn, like when they found him and kind of how he built up through the ranks of him. The second one, what I was listening to, is kind of his interactions with Anakin and Vader, and it kind of flip-flopped between past and present. And I never finished that one.
So we talked a little bit about Bix.
Yes.
End of the show, you get her walking through a wheat field holding little Andor.
And that's so crazy, because you would think a character that prominent child would go on to do something. But at least if we know of the character, it hasn't been related to Andor.
Snoke.
You tell
That's my new theory. That's the theory for our first night on the first YouTube channel, our new YouTube channel.
Here we go.
Andor's baby is Snoke. That's
good Lord. I don't think so, but
that's how they had to do it to get the clone to be able to hold the Emperor's essence. It had to come from there, and they inseminated Binks when she was in the in prison with the Empire.
So let's think about this. So the baby was born in what, 1 BBY or whatever ish. Yeah. So how old would that baby be by the time Rey defeats the Emperor?
All right. So 1, and then 30, mid
30ish,
40s. Yeah, he would be around.
Okay. So he would be older by that point.
Yeah.
You would think he would, based on who his parents were, he would have had to have grown up and joined the rebellion in some way, shape, or form.
Right. You would. Maybe they do him or his son. Maybe they do an Andor. Maybe in a future series, you get an Andor, and it's alluded to that my dad or my grandfather was Cassian Andor.
But you know what's going to bug me? So we've watched now all of season 2, which leads right in Rogue One. We've watched Rogue One. Does Andor ever even know he has a child before he dies?
Nope. No clue.
That's so messed up.
That's why the girl knew, and that's why she was telling him. She was like, "You really should go see her when this is all over. She will want to see you." And then you find out why she said that was because the baby. So,
and that's so crazy. Okay, I know Luthen was smart and really intuitive and knew things, but come on, Bix had to know how it was going to end for Andor. What was on the line. I don't know. Maybe that's why she never told him, because she knew that he wouldn't let himself be killed for a greater cause. But I don't know. Me as a parent, I'm trying to think of it as me. If I'd known I'd had a kid, it would have driven the cause more, because I want a world that he can grow up in to where, or she, I don't know, could grow up in to where it wasn't ruled by the Empire. You know what I mean? A peaceful world to grow up, or universe to grow up in. You gotta tell him.
He would have been too protective if he would have found out, because he was already kind of hovering over her and not letting her do what she felt she wanted to do. And if he knew she was pregnant, none of it would have happened. And then if there was a baby, he's the type that would have took them and gone to the furthest outworld planet he could, that he would think the Empire would never get to, and protect them over anything else. However, I think she knew that Bix knew that Andor had to be the one to bring the devastation. So if it wasn't for Andor, obviously the plans wouldn't have got there. Death Star wouldn't have blown up, all that stuff. But that lady in the camp who may have been a Force sensitive, the one that knew when he walked over, she said something alluding to, "You're the one, and all this is it has to go through you." Bix witnessed that, and she believed that lady when everyone else just kind of offed her as "Oh, that's no, she doesn't know what she's talking about half the time. Bix thought that she did. So that's, that was really her like, okay, well, the world's really giving me these signs that, no, you have to. If you don't, then we all fail.
Mm-hmm.
So, she was very compelled that it was the right thing to do.
Yeah. And that's another interesting part that got brought up too, that force sensitive, or that, I don't know what you'd call it. She was definitely force sensitive.
Intuitive lady.
But I mean, that just ties all back to the whole, everybody's force sensitive. Like, she probably was born force sensitive, never knew what it was, never got picked up by Jedi. I don't know what age range she would fall in. She was an older lady, so I'd say she was probably around when the Jedi were still around. But I mean, it was one of those things they never developed, because she even, like, when she was doing it, even, I can't remember her exact line, but she was pretty much saying it was hit and miss. She hadn't always pick up, something from somebody. So she doesn't really know how her abilities work, but she gets hit sometimes, I guess.
Right. Well, much like Ezra, Ezra knew he was good at getting away with stuff and being, a little extra sneaky, or, a little more intuitive. So,
and
there's plenty of them after the Jedi went down, a lot of that just became intuition. That's what they would have chalked it up to if you were there. They'd be like, oh, so-and-so's going to walk through the door. And they actually walk through the door and be like, oh yeah, a good gut feeling, or, you got intuition, you got a little intuition there.
Yeah.
And that's probably what a lot of people chalked it up to, because, around this time, people aren't believing in the Jedi. There's, when we were getting into the Battle of Yavin, no one knows who a Jedi is. Leia happens to know Obi-Wan. And, outside of that, no one thinks of Jedi. They think they're an old wise tale from years ago, or the ones that lived through it refused that it happened,
And I mean, Andor reminds me of Han Solo in that way, kind of the way they talk about it. He's less cocky, obviously, but like even like Bail Organa, he used that cheesy ass line. It was very fitting, but it was a cheesy ass line. He told him, may the force be with you, and I was like, and Andor kind of had that look like, force, that ain't real. That's
right.
Wives' tale, you know what I mean? Like, but I thought that was cool.
And
I feel like we're missing something.
It's funny how quickly the what's known about the Jedi disappears in the Star Wars universe too. It got very suppressed, but that shows, Palpatine burned every book, every reference to the Jedi. Yeah. It was all burned, right then. Mm-hmm. So one generation later, they knew nothing really about them.
Yep. And I mean, so we've pretty much discussed the first 3 of the last 6 episodes. What the hell happened in the last 3 episodes?
It was a lot of what we talked about, a lot of the football passing going on. So it was, I think we kind of hit it, because the last 3 were really your character arcs. You had 7 different character arcs going to see where they're going to collide and how one's going to get cut off from the other. It's much like the Kentucky Derby. It was a quick, you had about 12 horses running. Who's going to get to the end and which one's going to cross the line first?
I mean, they finally got, was it Cora, or what's her name? Corin, whatever her name is. But they finally got her to Yavin, I think. Clea, yeah. Which is weird, because I don't remember. I'd have to go back and watch Rogue One, but I don't remember her in Rogue One. Was she in there?
No, I don't think so. I think she was probably for this one. Damn Skippy Hippie, drink some drinks, talk Star Wars universe.
There we go.
Like home. Well, welcome home, Tristan.
Welcome home.
But yeah, I don't think so. But I've seen some things online where people have, how they put Rex in Return of the Jedi now, because the one guy happens to look like him. Well, in A New Hope, one of the operators that's going over the map while Mothma is doing that bears a fairly good resemblance to the actress. So now a lot of people are like, in headcanon, this is, since she don't have a name, this is now Clea. And it was somebody who was there kind of like a general mapping out the field, which I thought was I like
Right.
them doing that. I like to be able to tie it in all the way across the universe.
And what about I think there's another character I was thinking of that was in this. I know we don't see nothing from. Oh yeah, not Bix. We don't see Bix again either. But which she has a baby. That's probably why. But Mothra's sister. Do we see her in Rogue One at all? I can't remember.
That I don't think so.
Now I gotta go back and
seeing
watch Rogue One again.
I think outside of Krennic and Andor, I don't think any of the other characters are there because the football was passed to Brody. So in the last episode of Andor, he gets the signal. So he gets the Death Star codes. Andor suits up in what we see him in Rogue One. So he's got the jacket with the orange stripe and everything. He's got his pistol. Because the Tiki guy, the one guy who's friends with Andor, he gets the message to Brody, who would have also been a Lutheran guy, which is cool. So they tied a very popular character out of Rogue One. He would have been a Lutheran guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty much it. All the other people, they die. I mean, you would have to assume most of them die.
One of the best parts for me, at least, about this series is kind of, I know I touched on it a little bit earlier, but kind of seeing the other side of Rebels. Because you hear a lot of this chatter when you're watching Rebels and about like things that are happening here, this happened or that happened, and you kind of get to see it happen in Andor, you know what I mean, from the other side, actually what's going on. Because I think from, if I'm not mistaken, 5 BBY on is kind of all Rebels territory. So when you're seeing Andor, that's mirroring something that's happening in Rebels from that point.
Right.
And that's pretty cool to kind of see.
General Dodonna, we get him on, he's there with Leia and, or not Leia, Mon Mothma.
Yeah.
And Leia's dad, Bail Organa.
Yeah.
So he's there, and that was cool seeing him in there. He's a real hard ass, just like he is in everything else. But he's the one getting on Andor all the time. You can't leave without permission. But ultimately, he's the one like, okay, now you have to leave. You have to go do it because
and it's funny because he keeps getting away with it because he still does it once Rogue One starts. So I mean. And I thought it was cool how they ended with that scene of him walking across there with his suit on, because that's kind of how it was in Rogue One as well. It kind of like full circle, you know what I mean?
Right. Because I'm assuming he gets on that ship, and you can literally put Rogue One in, and it's Andor when we first see him. He just came from Yavin, so that was him walking off to go to the Jyn Erso extravaganza that he gets to join.
They did bring up Urso's dad and some stuff.
Yeah, you're probably right. We should get some Funko Pops or something.
I don't know if I don't think we're that into Funko Pops, Dwight.
Yeah. I think I've moved a lot of mine. So yeah, I was really impressed. I really loved Andor. The top 7 shows, singular shows on Rotten Tomatoes goes there's an episode of Mando, and then the next 6 are all from episodes of season 1 or 2 of Andor. And that's the not the critic, but that's the fan rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It's the way they get them, like 96%. If you look at it on like the trilogy, like you compare the overall story, I think the top 3 spots outside of Mando season 1 are Rogue One, season 2, and season 1 of Andor. Most people have season 2's getting like a 97% fresh. Season 1's a 96. And then Rogue One had whatever the 5-star, wherever they do their movies out of there. But it is seemingly fairly widely accepted that outside of the original trilogy, this is the best Disney stuff. Andor is probably the best Disney stuff we've gotten, period.
I mean, aside from I say I disagree. So, Andor, even with season 2, which I rank the second half of season 2 up there pretty good. It's good, but from the first half of season 2 all the way through the whole season of 1, it's right above Acolyte for me. You know what I mean? Like, and I know some of my favorite stuff isn't Disney, Rebels and Clone Wars and stuff like that. But like even stuff like,
no, Rebels is Disney.
Rebels is Disney. Okay, I didn't know
Rebels,
exactly when
they. Yeah, Rebels is Disney.
But I mean, Rebels, Clone Wars are my favorite. You already know that. Bad Batch is up there with Clone Wars because they're so similar. But like, I mean, I love Mando. Everybody loves Mando. I'm sure that's still number 1. But I mean, Book of Boba, I was way higher on that than most people. Ahsoka, I'm higher on that than Andor. Which is weird because I love Rogue One. And I love, like I said, the second half of season 2 was really good. But it was just so slow. And I'm not going to be one of those Star Wars fans that sits here and says it's trash, it's garbage. I'm going to recognize it's good writing, good acting. And if everybody else loves it, there's a reason. That's just my personal taste. So I'm not going to slam it for it, but my personal ranking, it would be low.
Rebels is my favorite. I think that's probably my favorite Star Wars of any Star Wars.
And I get so much crap. You've made the comment multiple times about Clone Wars, like how I was a trooper for powering through it, but I love it.
I think Clone Wars is a tough power through for me.
Clone Wars is just so much meat and potatoes. Like that's what I love. I love just like I know Andor gave you a lot of information that tied in kind of that big moment where Leia gets the plans of the Death Star. That's what all that's for, But like Clone Wars, if you're thinking about all the Star Wars that we have right now, as far as canon, shows, and movies, Clone Wars is so much meat and potatoes for that. Like, if you didn't watch Clone Wars, there's a lot you don't know. Like, lot you don't know. And I don't know, I loved it. I love the relationships in that show. That's probably the best thing in Clone Wars. And I know people are like, oh, it's a cartoon, but like the relationship between Anakin and Ahsoka, Anakin and Obi-Wan, and then all these side relationships you get. You meet Asajj and Rex and several of the clones. Like the clones, if you don't watch Clone Wars, you think it's just like everybody's the same. It's just clones. They're no better than stormtroopers or whatever. But man, those clones all have identities, and some of these clones, some of these clones are my favorite characters in any of Star Wars. Like Rex, I would put way up there. Fives, I would put way up there. Like, I've seen some of them played, but I haven't played them myself.
I've played a few of them. I don't think Battlefront 2, I think I played Battlefront when it was on PS1. Didn't have a lot of Star Wars games on PS2. Of course, once I got into PS2, it was all wrestling games for a very long period there because one a year, and between that and Madden, you're kind of stuck. I don't need any other games. And then Fallout. I found Fallout, and I just drenched myself in Fallout and Warcraft after that. Go ahead.
Speaking of wrestling, have you seen that video going around with the kid on the last day of school, and he's got the 2 milk cartons, and he's like doing a Stone Cold impersonation. He slams them together and pours it all over his face. That was pretty cool.
Yes. Battlefront 2 on PS. It is. I've heard that's a game to play, and it still has live servers and stuff. I know it's very active, and it's considered better than the ones coming out currently with the current systems. But that's what I think makes Star Wars really cool. So you get stories from everything. It's I think it always appealed to the more scoundrel side of Star Wars. I love like not necessarily the bounty hunters. I like Han Solo. I like Hondo Anaka. I like Jabba the Hutt. Mm-hmm. I was always in on kind of the crime lord
underworld, yeah.
And that's a lot, but that's also what Andor, it appeals to that side of the fandom too, because it does. When we're going and they're listing off the levels of Coruscant or where the safe house is, oh yeah, it's on the 37th. You know, the way they number their houses, because they got them stacked.
Oh yeah,
so deep, and the lower you get, the scummier that it gets on Coruscant, which is really cool.
Oh yeah.
So a lot of that appealed to me, and that they delve into that a lot in Andor. You see the tie-ins there,
and I mean a lot of the stuff, like kind of that I don't know, almost like a westerny, like I like that feel like that you got from Mando and Boba Fett and stuff like that, where it's just like kind of like the outlaw Star Wars. You know what I mean? You seen that like first episode right off the bat of Andor. You got that amazing scene in that tavern or whatever. I say tavern because it had a Western feel, but you know what I mean? Like just so good, like that whole scene. And then Book of Boba Fett, you get that too, where like you're on Tatooine, you got the sand and stuff like that, and it all just feels Western. You got Cobb Vanth, you know, is like the sheriff. Like that's a fun side of Star Wars. I love that feeling. That's why I rank Mando and Book of Boba Fett so high together too, is because it's all kind of that vibe, except for like the Power Ranger motorcycle gang. That was the only outlier.
Well, I would definitely take Mandalorian over Andor.
Oh yeah.
Seeing where Ahsoka goes, I could get there with Ahsoka. But I think overall, what I've seen so far, but Ahsoka season 2, I'm pretty hyped for, because there's some really cool shit that they're talking about out there. And I don't know if it actually had live servers or not. I don't know if it was an online capable game, but I know a lot of people still play Battlefront 2, and it is extremely highly rated, and it still sells, like copies of it still sell pretty close to retail. Because it's just that good of a game. Steam sells it all the time.
I think the main Star Wars game I've seen played is Force Unleashed 2, I think. I saw a buddy play that pretty much from beginning to end. It was really good. I remember when I was a teenager, I would go to a friend's house all the time, and that's all I did was play video games. I mean, we would hang out, and he would play video games. Like, I would sit there and watch him play these games just for the story. Like, I would find games I liked that he played, and like some of the stories were amazing in the games. And it's like I could just sit back and chill. You know, I might have been doing some other things as a teenager, you know. But you know, I would just watch him play these games, and it was like awesome. It was like watching a movie. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, John.
Mm-hmm.
My bottle's empty. How about yours?
Mine too.
I think we have been on for an hour and a half, and it's a crazy weekend, and I got to go into work tomorrow, so I'm going to have to get off here and get some shut eye. But it has been nice to be back after a couple weeks. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We are on our own YouTube platform now. We have moved away from the Powerbomb Nation YouTube platform. You can still find us on Facebook. Go like the Facebook page. Once you like the Facebook page, get in on the group chat. John posts a ton of stuff in the group chat. It's been very, very active over the past couple months. There is some hilarious memes. So if you like memes, there's a lot of those going on in there. Some great videos. And then check out the page where all things Age and Geek. You can find more great goodness to stuff on your eyeballs. And join us every Wednesday night. It's not Wednesday tonight. It's Friday. We didn't even mention that we're here on a special Friday.
Yeah, that's true.
We missed earlier. But we are typically on Wednesdays at the same time. Right around 8:30, we go live.
And if you like football, check out our other podcast, Snap Tackle Talk. Here coming up in June, we're going to get back into it. Start being a weekly podcast again. It's going to be awesome.
Yes, John has to take a vacation, or it would be here a week earlier.
It would be a week earlier, but unfortunately, I have a family.
So yeah, make sure you check that out. Like and subscribe. Snap, Tackle, and Talk also has its own Facebook page. It also has its own YouTube channel now. So that will be going live very, very soon. We've actually, I think we got one up on that now. Other than that, may the force be with you. Are we going to the force? What are we saying? Are we doing the same sign out?
Sure.
All right. May
always
be with you. Always. We'll work on it, folks. Don't worry.
We're workshopping it. We have some ideas,
Better than some, worse than others. Just keep the last one in mind.